David, that's Mack.
Okay, now it's officially 6 o'clock p.m. Now that I have a captive audience, I always wanted to sing a song. No, just but thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Good evening. My name is Mack. I'm from the Walnut Valley Rotary Club. And thank you for coming to the City Council Forum, questioning for our high school students. Thank you for them. We have a timer. Ryan will give us 2 minutes. I want you to time me on this, okay, Ryan? Give me 2 minutes, because I wanted somebody in the back ask, what is the Rotary Club? The Rotary Club is an international club with 1.6 million people all across the world. We have clubs all through the San Gabriel Valley. Walnut Valley, it represents Diamond Bar, Walnut, Rolling Heights. We have Azusa clubs, San Dimas, Pomona. And we are a service-based organization. We come to serve, we're not to be served, we come to serve. Example, we had our first car show in June at Diamond Bar High School. It was a success, and we're going to have another one this coming summer. Our next fundraiser is the Red Ribbon campaign at Diamond Bar High School. Red Ribbon Week is a very important week for high school students, just a drug awareness. It's celebrating people, young people who are not on drugs. You know, young people who are trying to make it. Because as we know, we didn't have to struggle with online media when I was in school. And I didn't have to take some candy and think, well, is this candy or is this a drug? Back in our day, it was candy. You know? So we're very passionate about that. We'll raise money through our fundraising events. We'll take those funds and give back to the community. Another example, we're teamed up with Rolling Heights School District. Rolling Heights identifies families in the community that are in need. There are a lot of homeless. Some people may be in a motel. Some people may be in a camper. And we team up with them to do a holiday basket. Give them turkeys, hams. Last year we gave around 50 to 60 families. Because of COVID, we couldn't meet and have a food drive. So we gave out $50 certificates to each family. That's a lot of fundraising. So we will do that again with this fundraiser and what we do throughout the year. We also are going to help the soldiers and the food banks at 29 Palms. 29 Palms is in need. Sometimes their food banks go empty. It's a little different than the base in San Diego County. I keep, my memory fails me of the name of the base. But 29 Palms is in need, and so we're going to help them this year as well. So again, we're sponsoring this event. We're in the community. We wanted to get our name out there. We're very like-minded. We have fun. And just come check us out. We meet at the Holiday Inn every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Every Tuesday except, when I say every, the third Tuesday of the month is over Zoom. Because we have speakers, and sometimes speakers can't go across the traffic and be there that early. So we set them up for the third Tuesday of the month. The other is at the Holiday Inn right next door to us. We have a sign-up sheet in the back. You can come check us out and leave your email, your phone number, and we'll get back with you. But thank you very much for attending. And if you don't mind, did I make the time?
No, not even close.
So anyway, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, let us begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I hand it over to Nicolas.
everybody hear me? Okay, good. Well, it's very good to be here tonight, and I can say I'm very pleased to see that it's a full house. We even had to add some extra chairs in the back, and all of us at the Rotary Club were worried, would enough people come, would we fill the room? But we've overfilled the room clearly, and that just shows how dedicated the residents of Diamond Bar are, to being involved in civic activities like this, and how dedicated they are to understanding who's running to represent them and trying to learn who would be best to represent them in each of their respective districts. And that leads me to the fact that this year is actually the very first time that the city of Diamond Bar will be voting in a district format rather than an at-large format like in past years. So this year, the 1st district, the 3rd district, and the 4th district are up for election. If you don't know what district you live in, you can pick up a map over at the table with the Rotary Club tablecloth in the corner there. Ed and Pearl Hilden are over there, and they can give you a map. It looks like this. So you can go ahead and take a look at it and figure out which district you're in and who you'll be voting for on November 8th. Additionally, I'd like to say that 1 week from today, on October 10th, ballots will begin to be mailed out. So if you wish to vote early, keep that in mind, and keep in mind when the ballots will be coming in the mail. So I really can't think of a better time to be hosting this forum, so everyone will know which candidate to support, and they'll be ready to vote come next Monday. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicolas Hernandez. I'm currently a college student. I graduated from the Walnut Valley Unified School District just earlier this year, so I am local. I've been involved in the community for a few years now. I started when I was in high school. I was involved in many different clubs, be it Model United Nations, Future Business Leaders of America, and Mock Trial, like I know some of our students are today. And a few months ago, I decided to join the Rotary Club because I had heard a lot about it, and I had seen how active the Rotarians were in the community, and I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity for me now that I'm in college and I'm over 18, so I can officially be a Rotarian. And in the short time that I've been a Rotarian, I can say that I've really learned a lot. I've been able to meet some of the kindest people I've ever met before, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight to be your moderator. When I was first approached to be a moderator, I was, wondering, why me? Well, I thought about it a little more, and maybe I was asked because I was the only person who would say yes. But, upon further consultation with my fellow Rotarians, they thought that they wanted someone involved in the community, someone that would be dedicated. And I don't think I'm the only person who would fit into that category. And I think we have some very great examples of people who are dedicated to the community, right here to my left. As you all know, being a city council member takes a lot. It takes a selfless person, someone who's dedicated to serving the community, someone who will take the slack a lot of the times, for lack of better words, someone who's prepared to listen, to spend late nights on the phone call with constituents. I know many of you have done that before. And today we have 5 candidates here with us, and I think it's pretty remarkable that we have the majority of the candidates running for city council here tonight. So before we get started, I'd like to give them all a round of applause for being here and for their dedication. We have Mr. Ruben Torres, Mr. Lee Mao, Mr. Steve Tai, Mr. Andrew Chou, and Dr. Chia Teng here tonight. If you haven't had the chance to meet them yet, I suggest you do after the forum. They're all very nice people, and their dedication is really admirable. So with that said, I'd like to get into the rules for tonight's forum. So we're going to be having 12 questions being asked by a panel of 6 students from Diamond Bar and Diamond Ranch High School. So we're very happy that they're here with us tonight, ready to ask questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Again, it's a total of 12. And we're going to get started from the candidates from my left, so Mr. Torres, Mr. Mao, and so on. But with each new question, we're going to switch the person who went first on the last question will go last on the next question, if that makes sense. That way, each person will get a chance to go first for at least 2 of the questions. So I'll be calling out the students when it's their turn to ask a question. They'll be standing up with a wireless mic. They'll introduce themselves. And we're very fortunate that we have students that were highly recommended by either their advisor or their principal to be here tonight. So these are the top students here with us tonight. So we're very glad that they're here. And I think we should give them a round of applause. So the candidates are going to be able to look at my friend there, Malki. He's going to be our timekeeper. So when you have 30 seconds left, he'll put up that 30-second sign that you see there. And when you have to stop, he'll put up that stop sign, which really means stop. So with that said, now we're going to move on to our opening statements. So we're going to ask the candidates to read their opening statements, but there's one thing I'd like to add. As many of you know, this Diamond Bar Restaurant Week started on October 1st, and it runs through October 16th. So if I may, I'd like to ask the candidates, once they're done with their opening statements, to tell the audience what their favorite restaurant in Diamond Bar is. So for the opening statements, I'm going to give the candidates 1 minute and 30 seconds to read their opening statements and tell us about their favorite restaurant. So without further ado, Mr. Torres, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Well, hello. I want to start off by thanking Walnut Valley Rotary Club for hosting this event. Also want to thank all the neighbors, friends, and supporters in the audience today for coming out to hearing us speak. I want to say hello and a big thank you to all the audience watching us on YouTube today that couldn't make it in person. My name is Ruben Torres. I am running for Diamond Bar City Council representing District 1, which is on the north side of Diamond Bar. I'm a product of Diamond Bar and grew up in the city, and now with my wife of 22 years, her and I are raising our children here in Diamond Bar. I've been in banking and financial industry for over 20 years. I have volunteered in local youth sports in the city for over 20 years in Little League Baseball, Pony Baseball, Pop Warner Football, and have sat on the respective boards. I have lived in Diamond Bar for over 35 years and lived in District 1 for the same amount of time. I attended local schools and received my bachelor's degree and my MBA degree from the University of Laverne. For the last 12 years, I've been on the Diamond Point Homeowner Association Board, and I am the current president. I'm proud to be a longtime resident in Diamond Bar. Some of the concerns for the city that I'm passionate about are public safety, economic development, redevelopment, preserving open space, homelessness, and a new vision and a future for Diamond Bar. We need to have elected officials that could think outside the box, not the same old programs or the same old style of city government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Mal.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay. My name is Mal. It's such an honor to be here tonight. I moved to the U.S. with my family when I was 10 years old and did not speak a word of English. After graduating with a biology degree, I worked for the biggest department store on the West Coast and was relocated to L.A. buying. My wife Amy and I have been married for 31 years, and in 1993, we were able to call Diamond Bar home and bought our first house where we welcome our daughter, Rachel. Since then, I have opened my own business for the last 26 years, selling bedding products. Plus, I have served multiple times on the board of directors of my HOA. Started a toy drive 2 years ago with Women's Club for the military family and donate product to help fundraiser for the Friends of the Library. I also was honored to serve on General Plan Advisory Committee for 39 months to plan out the future of Diamond Bar. With my experience and my passion to help others, I am the best candidate for this group. Thank you.
Mr. Todd.
Thank you, Nick. I want to thank Rotary, the Walnut Valley Rotary Club, for hosting this. I want to thank Diamond Bar for making this facility available. And I especially want to thank Nick for joining our club, because as most people would know, he appreciably brought down the average age. My name is Steve Ty, and I'm running for City Council in District 1. I want you to know that my wife and I bought our home in Diamond Bar in 1983, before Diamond Bar was even incorporated. Our children were raised here. They attended the local schools. It's funny because all of them went through Diamond Bar Community Nursery School at Northminster Presbyterian Church, and before they moved out of this area, my granddaughter followed in her daddy's steps, and I highly recommend it for anybody. Check with Miss Mitzi and get your preschoolers in the program there. I've been involved with the kids in sports and baseball, soccer, basketball, the kids with PTA. I'm a Sunday school teacher. In fact, Councilman Liu is here in the second row. I taught both of his kids in Sunday school, and didn't do any damage, if I recall. So it's been a privilege to be part of Diamond Bar. It's been a privilege truly to be part of the fabric of Diamond Bar, and it is a privilege to continue to represent you as your councilman this year in District 1. So thank you, appreciate your time. I give my time to
Mr. Chou.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. Thanks for being here. My name is Andrew Chou. I have the honor of serving currently as your Mayor Pro Tem of the City Council. I first ran for office back in 2018, and it's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your council member. This year has been a little different than what we've gone to the district, but I think all of you know me by now that I'm committed to serving the entire city, not just my district. My wife and I are here, like most of you, to raise our family. I do have two little ones. Well, one's not so little anymore. He's 15 almost. Next month he'll be 15. This month he'll be 15, and we'll have a 5-year-old. So they're currently going through the school system. So we have many of the same issues that are facing many of you. We drive on the same streets. We sit in the same traffic. We see the same homeless encampment on the north end. So I understand, and I'm personally aware of many of the issues that are facing our community. For the past 4 years, it's been the greatest honor of my life to serve on the City Council. We've tackled many of our most challenging challenges, and I think we're ready to do much, much more if given the opportunity. So it's really been the greatest honor of my life, and I love the opportunities to continue to serve the community that I love. Thank you.
Mr. Teng.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Teng, I'm a medical doctor. I'm a first generation immigrant. I came to the States literally with 2 suitcases and $200 in my pocket. I started my dream and new journey in the East Coast. And I worked hard, earned my degrees, and then I switched to medical field where I finished to be a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor in this area, and I have my family in this area. I live in Diamond Bar for 14 years, and I enjoy living here. The medical school has taught me skills of making a diagnosis and treatment and prevention. I think this is very important to me to handle all the daily problems. Also, the daily seeing a patient with a lot of different problems make me to use my common sense to solve the problems. So I'm going to incorporate the common sense in all this. And I plan to work with the city staff, city engineer, managers, directors, and I plan to work with the other council members to do the best to make the Diamond Bar the better and better places to live. Thank you.
Thank you. So it seems like we all ran out of time to say our favorite restaurants. So we're gonna go down the line, same order really quickly. Tell us your favorite restaurant in Diamond Bar.
Barros Pizza.
Mr. Howe?
I actually just went to the hot pot in H Plaza called Chuan Pot, and they actually cook their broth every day. So it's my best restaurant right now.
Mr. Todd?
Bagel is my favorite hangout.
Mr. Chow?
my favorite restaurant is any restaurant that Diamond Bar enters.
And Dr. Teng.
Chili's restaurant. Chili restaurant, kids love it, and it's open until very late. Serving alcohol.
Very good. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our students to begin asking the questions. Mr. Mao, you're going to be the first to answer the first question, followed by Mr. Tai, Mr. Chou, Dr. Teng, and Mr. Torres. So I will now turn it over to Arwen to ask the first question.
Good evening. My name is Arwen Lin, and I am a senior at Diamond Ranch High School. Residents in Diamond Bar love their pets and love walking their pets outdoors. We are scared when we see coyotes. How would you address the increasing coyote population?
That's a very good question. Yes, coyote is an issue here, but at the same time, we cannot catch and kill the coyotes because they do have an environment where they belong. I think that what we need to do is have a knowledge to pass on to the neighbors, to teach what can we, not to kill them, but to avoid. And I know that there are many ways to do it. If you look at YouTube, it's so available right now. You know, I saw that if you have air horns, to have that around the backyard, that will scare the coyote away. But again, I think we have to learn to live with each other and still respect the animal because they are still part of the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tai?
Yeah, this is something I have personal experience with every day. If anybody's interested, every day about 5 o'clock, I'm at Pantera Park walking the dog. And what I found out in the time that we've done that is I am more afraid of the coyote than the dog is. And the coyotes are more afraid of the dog than they are interested in me. They're not out there to attack us. They're out there to forage, and you know, I've seen them go across from left field all the way to right field and go up the hill at Pantera Park. And I think we do, as Mr. Mao said, I think we do need to figure out how to get along with them in outdoors if you're out walking. But most important is if you've got a small animal, you can't let that animal out. I don't care if it's a cat or a small dog. You can't let that animal out in the evening alone because it's going to disappear. So you have to be careful. It's up to us to be vigilant with our pets.
Thank you. Mr. Chou?
Thank you. That's a great question. Yes, I think the key is educating our residents about how to coexist. I mean, we have to remember coyotes were here long before we were here. And I think most of us come to Diamond Bar because we enjoy the country-like feel and the rolling hills and the trees and open fields. So I think for us to be here, that's one of the things that we have to learn to live with. Now, I'm saying this with a personal story because unfortunately, when we first moved to Diamond Bar years ago, we actually lost a pet to coyote. So I'm not saying this as somebody who say, oh, it's not a problem. I recognize coyote is an issue, and I know many neighbors who unfortunately have lost a pet to coyote, so I sympathize with everyone. But at the end of the day, it's educating our public about how to coexist. You may or may not know this, but coyote is actually a protected species according to California. So we can't just call it humane society and set a trap, and unless they become aggressive or they have a record of attacking people. So I think the key is to educate our public and learn how to coexist. And then, like Councilman Tai said, it's really to keep our small pets at home, indoors whenever we can. And when they go outside, make sure we go outside with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chou. Dr. Teng?
Yes, I have personally encountered coyotes around our areas. And what I found is actually they are afraid of human more than we are afraid of them. So they will actually walk away or disappear when they saw the human coming. So the most important, I agree with the other speaker, is to protect your small animals, to keep them safe in the house or keep them around you so that they were not alone with the coyotes. Coyotes will probably attack them. With humans, then they will probably stay away from humans. Still, that I think it's very safe to walk out with some kind of stick with you, and when you see coyote, just stand there, and they will probably just quietly walk away. And that was my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
Well, like I think everyone's in agreement here is that we have to coexist with them, right? So it's a great question. You know, we've had personal experiences living on the north side where we see a lot of coyotes coming in, and we have small pets, we have to bring them in at night. But it's educating the community on how to coexist with them. You know, the most important part and part of my platform is preserving the open space. I think by preserving those open spaces, you give them a place to be a habitat for them, right? So they could live, so they could grow and have families. They're beings just like us, or you know, any other animals or pets that we have in our house. The most important part is educating the community, educating how to coexist with them, preserving those open spaces. The big thing is, you know, when you're walking your pets, you know, scaring them somehow with lights or sensors, or hazing the coyote with a loud noise. I think if we start educating the community about that, they'll run away, you know, but we gotta also be safe, you know. Mr. Tai talked about walking his dog at night, you know, we wanna make sure that he has a bell with him or something, just in case the coyote approach, because obviously we don't wanna harm the coyote. The other thing is, you know, have sensors around your house, motion sensors, so lights could turn on, or a beeping sound to kind of scare them away, then they'll go back to their home. But I think the big thing is coexisting with them, keeping their habitat the way it is, you know, preserving those open spaces here in Diamond Bar, and at the same time educating them on the public. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll turn it back over to Arwen now to ask the second question.
Let's talk about Diamond Bar's finances. The city of Diamond Bar has a yearly budget that is approved by the city council each year. In fiscal year 2022 to 2023, the projected revenues are $31.9 million, and estimated expenditures are $31.5 million. If you were on city council, would you approve these budgeted amounts, and why? If you do not approve, why not? What amounts would you approve?
Mr. Tai.
Great question. You know, it's our role as city council to set the policy. It's staff's role to decide how we're going to have that input, and how are we going to spend that money? What resources do we want to dedicate? Let's, for instance, the largest line item is public safety. We're a contract city. We use the sheriff for our police department. I like to think of it as that. And we're not going to be in a position, I don't believe, ever to cut back on that public safety. We're gonna continue. Being a contract city makes us flexible. We don't have a union. We deal with the sheriff. If we've got 20 sheriff out there and we decide that we need something paid attention to, and we need to get 24 for a given period of time, we can do that. So it's up to us to do that. To answer your question directly, Arwen, yes, I would. You know, the budget process is a long process, and we go over it diligently. And when we approve it, I don't know that in all the time I've been on the council, we've ever had anybody vote against approving the budget. So I think we have a terrific staff. I think they do their homework. I think they bring to us what we can do. There's a big difference between what we want and what we should. So it's important to keep those things in mind. And I to your question, I would definitely approve it. And I think it's a prudent budget. We're fiscally conservative, and I would absolutely approve it again.
Thank you, Mr. Chou.
Great, thank you for the question. Most of you may not know that I actually have a day job. And my day job, I'm a financial planner. So I do look at budgets and expenses and income for a living. So I understand our budget very well. I would say that the budgeting process is a long process. It starts in June and goes, a couple months after that. And every year we go through this whole big discussion about how we want to spend our money. Because at the end of the day, that's not our money, it's your money. We're merely the stewards of public funds. And there's a saying that I truly believe in, that our budget is a reflection of our values. What we spend money on says a lot about what we stand for. So our biggest budget item has always been public safety. So as we literally put our money where our mouth is, right? So when I started on the city council back in 2018, our budget was about 6.9 million to public safety. Now it's at a little under 8 million. So every year we have consistently increased our budget for public safety, because that's what we value the most. Next to that, this year I'm proud of the budget that we passed. We focused a lot on giving back to the community, making sure that our kids are taken care of. So we allocated a good amount of money to refurnish some of our older parks, and also want to make sure that our streets are paved and our street lights are kept on, and all the critical services that our neighbors have come to expect and that you deserve continue to be served, all within our budget. So every year we do our best to live within our means, and I'm proud that during the COVID crisis, we actually cut $1.3 million in expenses, because we believe in living within our means, just like how we manage our household finances. So I'm very proud of the budget that we have put together, and I'm proud of the work that we do, and we'll continue to do our best to live within our means. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Teng?
In the city budget, as the previous speaker has mentioned, there's a part that you have to spend, you cannot cut, such as the public safety or the salaries. The other part is that the different project that you do have degree of change or modify that, but I'm sure that all the project has been looked at very carefully, and all the project need to have like proper evaluation, proper bidding, comparison, and then the city council will make a decision whether to spend the money or not. In other words, that all the other spending will be deliberated very carefully, and I'm sure all the city members want to keep the finance very healthy, want to keep a balanced budget. However, if there's any incident that there is something arise that you have to spend more than your revenue is, you have a negative budget. If the city council decided that's the way it is, that you have to spend money, you cannot cut it, because the cutting it will be will have a negative impact on the community. Then I think we have to approve it. In other words, all we need to do is just carefully consider it, deliberate, discuss that, and so that all the city members can have some kind of agreement how much to spend. So the answer to you is that it all depends on what kind of situation. I'm sure that all city council members want to have a balanced budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres, please.
So as my opening stated, I am also in finance and looking at budgets and P&Ls, and great question, because it's a huge undertaking when you're looking at a budget or looking at a P&L and trying to see what we could accomplish. This is a tight budget right here. I would approve it because we're getting what we need for the city, but we have to look outside the box. We have to start thinking differently on how can we grow the revenue in the city? How can we grow it by adding businesses on the north side, or developing or redeveloping what we currently have to grow that revenue structure? Businesses don't last if you don't grow, or you don't think, or you don't have change management. The most important thing is change management. But with the budget, I agree with everyone here on the panel, is that public safety is number one. We have to keep public safety and growing. And if we can't grow our budget for public safety, Dime Bar is going to hurt in the future, 100%. The second thing with public safety is the homeless program. There's homeless in Dime Bar. That's probably the biggest elephant in the room right now. We have to figure out what we're going to do with the homeless. That's part of our public safety budget, I'm sure. I have a great plan for that. Probably going to be cut off on time, but I think we should be able to put together some type of programs to get the homeless in places or get them out of our cities. That affects our area of District 1 a lot. Walking the streets and talking to our community, it's a big issue and a big concern right now, that homeless. So if we don't have the money in the budget, because we're balanced right now, and we're not growing the budget because we're not redeveloping, or we're not approaching these commercial ownerships in the buildings to kind of like demand them to bring businesses, or collaborating with other cities, or collaborating and having partnerships to grow that revenue, we'll never grow as a city, and we'll stay the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mao?
Yes, yes, great question. As a business owner for the last 26 years, budget is very important. Also, serving 5 times on a board of director in a multi-million association, budget is really important in any aspect. As far as budget concerned, it's not a one-person show. It's a commitment. It's a team. So therefore, you have to rely on the city, everybody that's involved. Take that into consideration and do what's best for the city. That's what's best for you. So that's what the budget is. Everyone here has mentioned public safety is number 1. Absolutely, public safety is number 1. You cannot deviate from public safety. That's a must. So there are certain stuff that we have to spend. There's no way around it. And the example you have mentioned, I would definitely support the budget because that's put together by, the team that we put together with the city. And we need to rely on everyone here to come up with the best budget for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will turn it over to Alexandra to ask the 3rd question of the candidates.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Chawla, and I am a senior from Diamond Bar High School. SafeWise.com is a site that discusses and ranks California cities based on their public safety records. According to SafeWise.com, out of 230 cities that met certain criteria to be included in ranking for being a safe city, Diamond Bar was ranked as number 31. Still, residents in Diamond Bar are very concerned about public safety. What would you do to decrease home and auto burglaries and other common crimes in our community to keep it safe?
Thank you. Mr. Chou?
Thank you so much for that question. As we just literally talked about, our public safety has always been a priority for the city council and for all of us, myself included. We contract our services with the LASD, the Sheriff's Department, where they provide patrol and other services to our area. So in addition to making sure that they have the resources and the budget that they need to do their jobs, we also sit down with the Captain Talzi from our department once a quarter to go over statistics and really understand and drill down where the crimes are coming from, where are they being committed. And you will notice there's a very noticeable trend when we came out of COVID, because during COVID, everyone's home. So we didn't have a lot of burglaries and there was not break-ins. But since COVID, there's been a lot of catalytic converter thefts, and that's on the rise. So I think job number 1 for us as council members to understand what crimes are being committed and then making sure that we allocate enough resources. Now, at the end of the day, you guys heard this before, you're the one that can stop the crime, right? If you're home, making sure you lock your doors, make sure you lock your cars, don't leave it outside. There are things that we can do just from our personal capacity, but certainly as the city council, that's something that we lose sleep over at night. That's something that we worry about. I personally, I've been walking my district for the past few weeks now, and I've personally spoken with folks who unfortunately had their home broken into. And I hope that's never happened to any of you, but when someone breaks into the house, it's that sense of violation that doesn't go away. You can install all the cameras you want, but that sense of violation doesn't go away. So as city council, we're committed to making sure that our sheriff's department has the resource that they need, and that we'll continue to work with our residents and our businesses to make sure that we put a stop to the crime before they even happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Teng?
I think it's very important for the city to raise the residents alert and vigilant about the crime. So it's important to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, including publish the crime area, crime map, that let people alert. Second thing is that criminals, they are afraid of the police. They are afraid of law enforcement. So I think law enforcement, police, sheriffs, patrolling is very important. So we definitely will support the continuing patrolling effort by the police. With more patrol on the street, I think criminals will be deterred, and they will think twice before they do anything, because they will know that it's not easy. The next thing is that actually there's a very important program called the VOP, volunteer on patrol program. And that the deputy told us that that's going to be very effective because we have a volunteer to be on the street. That will put more people on the street to be the eyes for the police. So when the criminals see this kind of effort, they will be deterred again. And the third thing is that it's recommend to have an alarm installed, and people will have an alarm installed, they should activate their alarm, right? So those things you put together will help to deter the crime. No one is single enough to do it, but with a combination, it will decrease the crime rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres.
No, it's a really good question. As we can see in the north side of Dunbar, we do see an increase in the catalytic converters, as Andrew mentioned, and I think education is a big thing, right? Everyone's talked about the education, but more importantly, let's talk about our budget. Kind of going back one step for the last question, we have to look at how we're going to increase the budget to bring more revenue into the city, so we could increase that public safety presence in the city, right? It's working with the Walnut Sheriff Station. It's working in collaboration, in partnerships. Everyone's talked about, sitting down and learning the statistics from the captain at Walnut, or, speaking to the sheriff on statistics. But, let's get real. Statistics are just going to increase if we don't have action. The most important thing is getting down and having these meetings with the Walnut Sheriff Station, telling them this is what Dunbar needs. This is what we need: more patrols. We need to have a substation on the north side of Dunbar, if that's possible, to have that presence in the area. My plan is to work with these developers, or these business owners, or these commercial business owners, to bring in businesses, to gain that revenue, to increase our budget, so we could allow to have a substation in there as well. And again, the homeless, hate to say it, but when burglars come from other cities, they see homeless and they think it's an easy target in the area. So we have to figure out how to get those homeless people out. I call it a snowball effect. Once we start doing things and developing areas and bringing in restaurants, nicer restaurants, I guarantee you those business owners of those nicer restaurants are going to demand that we get rid of the homeless and demand that we have better safety and better patrols. At the same time, that's going to help our city. It's going to help our residents, and it's going to help get that number down from 31 to maybe down to 10, right? It would be great. So thank you.
Mr. Now?
Thank you. Great question. I'm actually was a victim of home burglary, and it was between 6 to 8 p.m. and my wife was home. So glad that she fell asleep, because who knows what would have happened. But yeah, this safety is a major part, and I think that when walking the street, talking to neighbor, a lot of neighbor goes, nobody knows what we are going through unless you went through it, and I did. And there's a lot of ways to do it. Yes, increase patrol like everybody else said, but I think that when it happened to me, I notified all my neighbors. Your neighbor are the strongest asset that you have. If you can get your neighbors to be neighborhood watch, they can do a lot faster, believe me, than any sheriff can do. They cannot arrest those people, but they can definitely scare those people away. So I think that we need to get the education out, whether it's a monthly meeting with the sheriff department, whether it's the city hall, town hall meeting every quarter, and a neighborhood watch. We need to encourage that. I know that I see signs during my walk, I see signs of neighborhood watch here and there, but it's not being practiced. And we should really encourage homeowners to get together to do more neighborhood watch and to do a monthly meeting. When you talk about it, crimes will be stopped. Thank you.
Mr. Todd?
Thank you, Nick. I would respectfully disagree. I don't believe for a minute that criminals are afraid of anybody. I think the problem that we have today is a product of what happened in Sacramento, Prop 47 and Prop 57. Yeah. It's the programs that we have are well thought out. You know, taking advantage of the sheriff's catalytic converter etch on the converter, etch your VIN. So take advantage of that. Take to Mr. Mao's point, the education is there, and we need to take advantage of it. Don't wait till it gets stolen. Ring Central is another program that we have made available at a discount for our residents. Neighborhood Watch, I can't stress how important that is. In so many different places, we have to be vigilant. We talked about our animals with coyotes. Let's talk about what we need to do, what we can do for our own safety. And again, I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Chou that a home break-in is a violation. How do you get over that? You're always going to be looking over your shoulder. So it's incumbent upon us to see that our homes are what will we call that? That we've taken the actions that we need to take so that our homes are as safe as they can possibly be. And that doesn't guarantee anyway that they're going to be scared away. So we have to be vigilant, and we have to take advantage of the programs that are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tai. Turn it back over to Alexandra for the fourth question.
Residents are concerned that some drivers are driving too fast in the residential neighborhoods. They are concerned about the danger to people taking walks and children who may be playing outside. How would you make our neighborhood streets safe from speeders?
Thank you. Mr. Teng, Dr. Teng, please.
One thing we can do is to install something called counter, which means speed bump, and install the speed limit signs very clearly, and also install the speed indicator to tell the driver that they are speeding too fast. And another thing we can do is to have more patrol in the neighborhood area. And in the neighborhood area, usually the motorcycle patrol is probably more efficient. So this is another thought about the reinstate the motorcycle patrol of the traffic that we had before. We should consider that. That should be a very good tool to deter the people's speeding in the local street area. And also that the people, if people in their neighborhood have that problem, I think they should talk to the city, to talk to the city engineer, to ask the city engineer to study to see if they need this kind of speed calming installment in that area. I think that will help to slow down the speeding in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres?
Yeah, great question. You know, we have a lot of children that are playing in the streets, a lot of kids walking, a lot of parents walking their dogs, you know, different things on that nature. However, you know, I agree with Dr. Teng. I think speed bumps, you know, me growing up in the city of Diamond Bar and living here for 35 years, I've experienced going through those speed bumps. It really slows you down a lot. But I think, you know, when we do these road slurries, you know, we every 7 years, I think the city tries to slurry these roads to make the roads look nicer for the community. I think by increasing that bike lane, by narrowing down, I'm not talking about changing the infrastructure because that probably costs too much money, but if you narrow the road down with some speed bumps, that would slow down the drivers. You'd have more areas for pedestrians to walk, to run on the streets, kids to bike, maybe some planters in the high traffic areas, in the walkways. I don't know if any of you guys were here for the downtown Diamond Bar presentation a few weeks back, but they had a great idea about bringing in planters and trees on Diamond Bar Boulevard to really slow that traffic down so that you have some great outdoor dining, great walking spaces. And I think we could kind of mimic that and do it in our communities, in our neighborhoods. Maybe not at that type of scale, but we could do that by bringing out the walkways or the bike lanes. So we have great bike lanes for people to bike and kids to walk and pedestrians to walk their dogs. But it is also the speed bumps. It's getting the public safety, getting those patrols. Dr. Teng mentioned about the patrol cops. If we could have that collaboration and that open dialogue with the Walnut Sheriff Station to get those patrols there on those high traffic times. I know if you go look down Dunbar Boulevard and Palomino at a certain time of the day, that's just a crazy area, right? They need to know where those hotspots are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Mao, whenever you're ready.
Yes, thank you very much. Great question. Since I serve on the GPAC, that was actually discussed, and the city is actually doing that as we speak right now in the next few years. If you look at Grand coming down from Chino Hill, they all, in the works to put bike lane, to put, golf on the side, so that people can actually slow down, and that is a concern. Since Diamond Bar is so hilly that, going down, people say, I only drive 25, but the car's going 45. So it's a big problem. In school zone or in, a residential area, it's very difficult to stay under 25, but it's a must. We need to encourage and make sure the signs are there and make sure that the speed bump, as Dr. Teng had mentioned, I think that's important. Again, in the last few weeks, I have been out to a lot of streets, and there are streets with speed bumps right now as we speak. But in the main street, we definitely need to do, the bike lane will help, and other where the street merge, that will always slow down the traffic, and we have to do a better job. And I know CD is already doing that as we speak, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Teng?
I had an opportunity to sit on the porch with Frank and Joan Luke at their home on Palomino, on the corner of their street in Palomino. So it's a three-way stop, and it struck me after a few minutes watching. This is right after school came back in session, so we've got kids, we've got families going to Golden Springs and coming from Golden Springs Elementary at unbelievable speeds, and I realized it's somewhere along the line. The sign, the red sign that said stop, is now considered a suggestion. And that's what we have got to address, that it's, again, we have a process, right? The city has a process. The Traffic and Transportation Commission will listen. They'll take you through what needs to be done. You have to get so many neighbors that agree we need a traffic bump here. We need, and personally, I don't believe they really slow down the speeders. It's not unlike everything else. It's the speed limit on the freeway is 65, which means I can go 80. So if I hit those speed bumps just right, I only feel it on one half of the car. But we have got to be thoughtful about the kids that are out there on their way home from school or on their way to school, and it's an accident waiting to happen. So it's drivers that drive too fast are going to drive too fast, and I just I don't know, outside of doing other traffic calming measures. Putting in even an empty police car would work, and that would save, right? We don't need a body in it. We just put a car there, and let's see how that works for a while. So I think that that's a problem that we need to continue to work on.
Thank you. Mr. Teng?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So like as mentioned earlier, we do have 2 school-aged children that's currently in our school system. So every morning during drop-off and every afternoon during pickup, we see that traffic. And I think a lot of it comes down to just people think stop signs are suggestions, right? But from a city council perspective, obviously we're policymakers. And from our perspective, we set policies on what type of street design we want to accomplish that will help slow down traffic. So we're going through this process every couple of years. We have a streetscape process where we redesign our major roadways like Grand and Boulevard, or Grand and Golden Springs. So every so often we will go through this redesign process to see what is the best practice in today's world that will help slow down traffic and mitigate accidents in those intersections. And you've seen some of that work that we're doing. So for example, you're coming down Grand Cleghorn, that's my district. You'll see that little things that they put into the right turn lane to separate the traffic. Because in the past, people, last minute will veer right and cut people off. And, I get those calls and emails all the time about traffic accidents happening on certain hotspots. And we know where they are, and we continue to work with our city engineer and our sheriff's office to see what else we can do to help mitigate those areas. And one of the things that I think we can do is from a design perspective, making sure that when and if we do redesign those intersections, we're putting more safety measures, right? A lot of times residents will call me or email me saying that they want speed bumps, they want stop signs. And there's a process that we go through. The city fully understands that every neighborhood's need evolve over the years. So when that need comes up, talk to us, talk to me. I'm happy to walk you through that process called neighborhood traffic management program, and we're happy to walk you through that to make sure that your neighborhood is as safe as it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chou, and thank you all for your well thought out answers thus far. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Vishnu to ask the next question.
Good evening. My name is Vishnu Sriram, and I'm a senior at Diamond Bar High School. Being on the city council can be a difficult and daunting job. It requires a lot of time and energy in order to effectively serve your constituents. What qualifies you to be on the city council?
Mr. Torres, whenever you're ready.
Well, as I mentioned in my opening, being a resident, first of all, for 35 years, living in the city, seeing the city grow, seeing it, how it develops, remembering how the city was, right? How we're keeping it preserved. I may not have some of the experience of some of these folks here on the city council or that are currently sitting on the city council, but I have experience with volunteering in the city for over 20 years. I have a degrees to be able to manage the finances. I've been in the financial world for the last 20 years. But I think the most important part about being a council member for our city is you gotta be passionate. It's a daunting job, like you mentioned. If you're not passionate about it and you don't want to serve and be that servant leader, we're not the right person for the job. I think by me being passionate, by me being that servant leader, by me wanting to look at this as a volunteer position, because that's really what it is. We're volunteers for the community. We're a voice for the community. That's how I see myself as being, ready for the city council position. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mao?
Yes, thank you. Great question. Who's qualified to be on the city council? To be honest, it's really coming from your heart. No one can say you are qualified, you're not qualified. It's not what you do, it's not what you have done in the past. I have been here almost 31 years. And being on the city council, you have to have the heart. You have to be able to listen to your neighbor. I'm not running because I want the title. I'm running because I'm serving for the city, and that's the mentality you have to have. That's the only way you can serve, not your district, but the whole city as a whole. So as far as qualification is concerned, if you have volunteered your time, if you love this city, you're not going to leave this city, and you want to put your all in to defend and help the city to be a better city tomorrow, then you qualify to be a city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Todd?
Well, as my friend Jovi told me this evening when I saw him, I might not be the smartest guy in the room, but I am handsome. So I don't know if that qualifies me or not. Vishnu, it's interesting when you think of what motivated you to run the first time, what motivated you to stay on council, what motivated you to do these things, and it is about making a change, making the changes that need, identifying those changes and making those changes, implementing those changes. When I first ran, there was a call for a parcel tax. And they could never put a number on it. It was $30, it was $50, it was $70. It got up to be $100. Parcel tax to improve library, to build a new library. This was at the time considered to be up at Diamond Bar Center. And I thought, I love the library, but I don't want to pay $100 a year in a parcel tax for a new library that, number one, we don't own, and number two, we don't operate. So fast forward a few years later, that, by the way, that it didn't, it got swamped at the election. Nobody wanted to pay $100 a year. But look what we have today with no increase in taxes because we worked with the county. We have a two-story building. Upstairs is our city hall and a 23,000 plus square foot library that's state of the art. And if I remember correctly, it is the most used library in the county of Los Angeles. So you can accomplish your goals. You just have to, as I think I heard somebody say, you just got to think differently. It's not all about raising taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teng. Mr. Chou?
Thank you, and that's a great question. I know we all say every question is great, but that's honestly, because I think it gets to the heart of why someone's sitting up here and running for office. So before I give my answer, I want to first applaud all of you for your willingness to put yourself out here, because it's not easy to sit in front of hundreds of our neighbors and to try to articulate your point, knowing that half the room will agree with you. Right? So just the fact that you're willing to stand up here or sit up here, I think is a testament to your willingness to serve. With that said, I would say that as elected officials, we are public servants, first and foremost. Our job is to serve the public. If we're not willing to do that, then this is not a job for you. And we don't have the luxury of not answering to our people. We don't have the luxury of only showing up 3 months before election. We don't have that luxury. Our job is to serve all 55,000 people. That we cannot sit there and pick and choose, say, I want District 1, I want District 2. None of us want to go district. My heart is with the entire city, right? No matter how, I hope I get reelected, but I will serve the entire city. Those of you that have been with me on this journey for the past 4 years, you know how I operate. There's not a day that goes by I don't get a question or a tag or an email or a phone call from somebody about something in the city. And I love it. I truly love it. And I'll tell all of you, I think to truly qualify to be a candidate, to be a great council member, you gotta talk to your wives and your husbands and your spouses. You gotta make sure they're on board. My beautiful wife, Jennifer, she's 100% supportive of what we do. Right, before I ran for council back in 2018, we sat down and had a whole conversation about what it means to be on city council. I said, I'm 44 now, but I was 44 years ago. I said, you know what? The next phase of my life will be public service, and you need to be on board. If you're not, I'm not doing it, because we do this together. And I'm proud to say that the past 4 years has been the greatest year of my life, and I can't wait to do it for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chou. Dr. Teng?
I think the most important qualification of the city council should be that they need to put the public interest first, put the personal agenda aside, and to serve the public. With that, I think if everybody can come out to serve the public, I think everybody is qualified. And with your question, that just remind me of something I bump into frequently. When I talk to people, first thing they ask me, hey, which party do you belong to? I said, why? If you belong to this party, I will vote for you. Otherwise, I won't for you. I usually tell them, please, because you are, the city council is elected by the people, so you need to do the election of the people. You don't select the party, right? You don't select the party purpose, you elect people. So I think that we are all sitting there to answer questions. The people can get the feedback from us. The people can talk to us and know what we are and what our thinking is, how we do things, how we treat the people, how our business, how our previous business, how everything, right? So you make a decision and then decide which is candidate you want to elect it, not just decided by selecting a party. So I do want people don't think about using a party as your standard to select city council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'll turn it back over to Vishnu to ask the 6th question.
Diamond Bar has an ongoing program to fix our streets, maintain our public buildings, maintain and improve our parks and open spaces, and build new projects for everyone to use and enjoy. This program is called Capital Improvement Program. This year, $9.36 million were allocated for this program. Do you think this money is well spent? How would you spend this money?
Mr. Mao?
Yeah, 9.6 million. Also, Diamond Bar has a lot of places to be improved, such as building, streets, parks. And I will definitely support it. If we do not maintain the infrastructure, the city will be going backwards. You know, the city is collecting taxes, other fund that's coming in. What is that money going to? Is to improve, is to move the city to tomorrow, to the next chapter. So 100%, it's a must, and I believe that myself, if elected as a city council, will definitely support that infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tai?
Thank you, Vishnu. Good question. You know, one thing you cannot afford as a city or as a homeowner is deferred maintenance. It will be exponentially more expensive if you don't take care of the streets today, and we have a program for that. If you don't trim the trees in a proper time, and we have a program for that. If your question was, would I approve that budget? If I could, I would double it. There are more things to do. You know, we need more parks. And I can think of a couple of great places, and we're really running out of room to do those. But that's an incredibly expensive proposition, is to lay out, not only, first you got to get the plans, that costs a fortune, and you got to get right now we're in a period where labor is very hard to come by, but we need to do those programs, keep things in working order. This is a great example. In this building, when we bought it in 2011, it was a call center. It's retrofitted. It needs to be updated. So does the Diamond Bar Center. That's a huge investment for the city. So we have to, if we're going to continue to attract people to the Diamond Bar Center, it's got to continue to be a state-of-the-art facility. So yes, I'm in favor of that CIP expense.
Thank you. Mr. Chou?
Thank you. As we mentioned earlier, budget is a reflection of our value. So we obviously value public safety, but CIP, capital improvement projects, the next kind of highest priority for us. And the reason is that the city, we were incorporated back in 1989, and we're now 34 years old. And as many of us, things age over time, and you need to start maintaining things, your roads, your streets, the sewer system, everything costs money. I think the first thing to keep in mind is that the CIP budget is not a one and done, right? It's not something that we're doing entirely this year. It's something we budgeted for that will be carried out in the next 7 to 8 years. And if our budget allows, we might add to it. If not, we'll defer some of the things that could be deferred. But there are things that are major that we have to do. For example, the Diamond Bar Center, we have a slope stabilization project. If we don't do that, guess what happens? That Bar Center will be at the bottom branch, right? And we can't have that. So there are things that we have to spend, and this is why it's so important that, given my finance background, that I look at the budget and say, hey, these are things that we can afford to do and that we should do, and these are things that we want to do if we have the money. So, for example, I'm proud that this year we're able to front some money and advance some money to work on our parks in Maple Hill specifically. Those typical projects typically will take a couple years from planning to budgeting to bidding to building. But we're able to kind of accelerate that process because we value our residents' input, and our good friend, came to city council, talked to a lot of us individually, and that's something that's important to the neighborhood. That's something that's important to our kids. So we want to make sure that we can accommodate that. And no matter what, we always have some room built into our budget to allow for things that that's unforeseen. Like no one foresaw COVID, right? So every year we'll have a certain amount set aside for a rainy day, and I'm proud that we have a pretty healthy reserve specific for that reason. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Teng?
If you're driving a car, then you bring your car to the maintenance regularly to have the mechanic check it, make sure everything is in order. If the mechanics tell you that you need to replace your brake, otherwise you'll cause danger, you better change it right away, right? Then if the mechanic says something, make a noise, that's probably not important, you can wait, and they will check it in a couple of months. If it gets worse, then you replace it, that's fine. Then you can defer it. So this same for the CIP program. I think the city has the expert engineer and expert managers to compile from all the data to determine what need to be repaired, what need to be done as a priority. And they prioritize, then they write a plan to tell the city council what need to be done immediately and what can be in the future. And then they will discuss the budget, and they will say whether the budget this year is enough to cover the required maintenance this year. So it's a ongoing process. I think if we have expert staff, they provide reliable information, then they will be our mechanics, and we better listen to the mechanics. If they tell us what needs to be done, we do it. Okay, we just look at it carefully, and basically that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres?
9.3. Low, 9.3 million, that's quite a bit of money. But great question. I think I would agree with Mr. Tai, and if we could double it, let's double it. But how do we do that, right? As city council members, we gotta figure out how to increase that without increasing any taxes. We need to redevelop the city. We need to grow parks. But is there better ways to doing it? We have to look and think outside the box. Is there a way where we could build and use, materials that aren't as expensive? Find the right contractors, get the right bidding processes in place for us to be able to meet that budget and grow the community. Community's getting old. We need to have that infrastructure set up. We have to make sure we're maintaining it. So yeah, I would approve the budget, but if we can find more money to increase it, that's more important, I think. More important, and as important as the public safety and figuring out where we're gonna go there. But it's gonna be a collaboration with the city managers, it's a collaboration with the council, it's a collaboration with contractors on finding that right process, finding the right materials, and getting the right budget set for those expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. We're halfway through, so. Now I'd like to turn it over to Julianne to ask the seventh and eighth question. Seventh question first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juliette Uy, and I am a senior from Diamond Bar High School. What area of public safety is your priority as a city council member, and how would you address it?
Mr. Tai?
Would you repeat your question? What area of?
What area of public safety is your priority as a city council member, and how would you address it?
First and foremost is public safety, and that's the sheriff. We have to, again, the largest line item in our budget is making sure we have the right resources available, we're getting the right hours, and we're getting the right coverage that we need. And we need to be as diligent as possible in that area. And again, if there's more resources, we can put those resources to work with the sheriff and make sure that that Diamond Bar stays as safe as it possibly can be.
Thank you. Mr. Chou?
Thank you. I think homelessness is by far the biggest concern we have. So every year, LA County sends out a team of people, volunteers, go to each city and count, physically count how many people are experiencing homelessness in each community. 2 years ago, we're at 4. Last year, we're at 40. 40. Okay. Now, granted, this is a count in time, right? So these are people who happen to be there when the team of volunteers went out and counted them. But the fact is, it went from 4 to 40. So I'll tell you, we drive down the same area that you do, and we see the same encampment off the 60 freeway. We're not blind to that, and I'm not gonna sit here and give you this, everything is rainbows and roses, right? We have an issue, and as city council, it's time like this that we have to lead, right? We have to meet the moment, and we have to figure out a way to deal with homelessness in our city. Now, this is why people you like are important, because it changes the way we approach this problem. So you can come from a law enforcement perspective. Someone will advocate they just round them up and send them away, right? But I come from a different perspective. These are people as well, and some of them, as you know, happen to be residents of Denmark at some point. They either have mental health issue, they have a drug addiction, or they just fell on hard times. I personally, heard a lot of stories about these are actual Denmark residents who fell on hard times, and now they're ended up on the street. right? So because of this, what we've been doing is not working. I'll be the first one to admit that. So we've had increased our resources. We now have an additional resource from LA County. They actually sent staff to our city staff to train us how we can better handle the situation. And we have increased our collaboration with the county. And that's why you see me, going out to lunch with County Supervisor Lees and Supervisor Han, because we need the resources, right? We need to know what's available through the county to help us. This is a regional issue. This is not something that each city can solve on their own. So we will continue to work with the county to make sure that we resolve homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chou. Dr. Teng.
I want to approach this from the other angle. I think the cities should raise alert and vigilant for the residents to be aware of the problem. And so I think I would suggest city to put a map on their website and to constantly update the data, to tell us what are the areas with all kinds of conditions, so people in that area can be more vigilant, more alert, can watch the street, watch the neighborhoods, help the neighborhood out, watch each other, and also help the business to watch each other for the business intrusion. And I think the public needs to know that. A lot of public, even we are talking about the public safety's importance, but a lot of people still don't know about that. They don't know what's the problem there. So I think it's good to have a city to put out in their website an easy map to show people all the situation. And because right now I'm navigating the city's website, it's very difficult to find the data. Navigating back and forth, click multiple links, very difficult to get to the data. I think that for the easy to use website, to let the people know about this will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Teng. Mr. Torres.
Great question regarding public safety. What area would I focus on? I would focus on the homeless. Right now, that's a big issue in the north. District 1, District 2, we see it every day. Numbers have been increasing, as Councilman Chou mentioned. 2016, we're at 6, then 5, then 4, then 4, then all of a sudden it shot up to 40. Why? Right? Why is the homeless up at 40? Why is it so high? Why? These are questions we need to ask. If I'm elected, you got to ask me why, right? What are you guys doing on the city council for that number to shoot up so high? Dr. Teng mentioned navigating the city website. I was navigating too. I found a homeless response plan that took it's a 2 or 3 year plan. Why is it going to take 2 or 3 years to figure out what we're going to do with the homeless? I have a plan that we could set up these advocacy programs to utilize the resources from the state, utilize the resources from the county, and not increase any revenue or increase any taxes for our city. We need to have a plan to put in place to get these people off Diamond Bar streets, to make the streets safer. I'm hearing stories of people that don't want to, walk down Diamond Bar Boulevard between, Sunset Crossing and Palomino because it's a bad walk. People are driving down the street and rolling up their windows. This isn't downtown Los Angeles. This is Diamond Bar. I mean, we got to feel safe. We need to feel protected. We need to make sure our children are safe. And it starts with the homeless, The second area is obviously all the break-ins. What can we do about that? We have to look at thinking outside the box, working with the sheriff department, increasing those patrols, getting some type of assistance down here so we could get a presence so people don't break into homes anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Mr. Mack?
Good question. Public safety is very important. And the priority for me is we should feel free to walk in our neighborhood and to shop in our city. And that's not happening right now. A couple months ago, just at Longview, there was a couple senior citizens trying to walk home. People were, going through the house. They could not open the safe, so they waited until they got home, beat them up, tie them up to open the safe. That should not happen in the city. So that's the priority: is how do we address that issue? I go back to neighborhood watch. I go back to increased patrols. We need to reactivate what we already have in the city that's not being used. But we need to encourage homeowners to work with each other. and watch each other. By doing that, we will be able to stop the break-ins, shopping. We have to all feel safe to walk in the morning or at night or to shop in the city of Diamond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'll turn it back to Julianne to ask the 8th question.
The City of Diamond Bar has a parks and recreation program for residents of all ages. Some of the programs that are offered are summer concerts in the park, breakfast with the bunny, snowfest, and many classes for all ages. Do you think we need more or less parks and recreation programs? And what programs would you support?
Thank you, Julianne. Mr. Chou?
I'm sorry. Sorry. I'll take that question. Thank you so much. My apologies. Yes, we have a great and robust park and rec program. As a matter of fact, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. I started on the city council. I started serving the city as a park and rec commissioner. Yeah, it's just like a TV show, I believe, if you've never seen it. I'm kidding, sorry. but I think Diamond Bar, as all of you know, is primarily a neighborhood where families come raise their kids, and our average age is about 44, average family size about 3.5. So it's all small family with 1 or 2 or 3 kids. So that's why Park and Rec program is so vital to the overall well-being of our city. And we have an incredible staff. We're able to do so much with the limited resource that they have to put on a special program, like Breakfast with Bunny, Snowfest. We used to have a birthday party, and now we're doing every 5 years instead of every year, and we're a little older. So no, these are great programs that I know our residents, myself included, enjoy. Our son was in soccer and tennis, and our daughter had some dance classes there. So we really enjoy this program. So I think there's always room for improvement. I think we can certainly offer more, but I really enjoy programs where the whole family can come together. Things like, at the dog park where we have annual Halloween party, Snowfest, things like that really brings the family out. Because at the end of the day, our job is to build communities. We're here to make sure that people feel safe and people feel a sense of belonging. People feel like they're part of the community. So no matter what we do, we always have that in mind. Where how do we bring the community together in a way that everyone feels at home and down. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Teng?
Thank you. Those recreation programs are great. I personally attended a summer council program at the Cemetery Park in July. It was a U2 tribute program. How many know about U2? I don't know. It was a great concert. My problem is that it was not made known to many people, including myself. I was invited by our friends in Heart of Hope, who has a booth there. They invite us to go there. Otherwise, we usually didn't know about this concert. I think the city is best to promote, to continue to promote, to do more promotion of the existing program to let more people participate. And one thing we can do is probably before this kind of a concert or event, we put banners around, okay? And I think in the past, city relies on their website, or city relies on their newsletter to send out. I think most people probably don't read newsletter. Too bad. I think we should read every newsletter city send out, and we should go to visit the city's website more often. But again, I just mentioned there's a difficulty, I think, in navigating the city's website. I think there's a room to improve. So if the city has a very easy website to look into, and people can easily find the program offered, and people drive on the street and see the banners of promoting all kind of program, they will have more attendance, more involvement, and city can use that opportunity to communicate with the citizens. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for that. I would increase it. Let's get more community with Diamond Bar, right? We need to get a tighter community. We're coming out of COVID, you know, we're coming out of a time where we were all at home. So we need to get back to the way Diamond Bar was. Like I mentioned, I've been in Diamond Bar for over 35 years. I remember Diamond Bar having parades. I would increase, let's have 2 parades. Let's have a 4th of July parade going into the fireworks, right? Let's have a Veterans Day parade. You know, we should at least have 2 parades to showcase the band, showcase the orchestra, showcase the teams, the youth sports, all the kids in the community, have them in cars. That's what we need to do. You know, family events on top of what we're already doing. You know, why can't we have a carnival every year? You know, let's look at the budget. Let's look at what I talked about earlier. Let's try to grow that revenue, grow Diamond Bar to Diamond Bar for the future. You know, another thing I'm learning about while I'm canvassing is that, you know, we're having coffee talks as candidates. Why can't we have Parks and Rec set up coffee talks with the council, right? Let's have coffee talks like that monthly. It doesn't need to be the full council, but we need to hear the voices of the community, right? I know we have coffee talks with the sheriff right now, but not a lot of people go, unfortunately. But imagine if we had coffee talks with the council member, and that's a program set by the city, by our Parks and Recs. It could be a luncheon, just to hear the voices of the community, because I think that's what we need to get back to, the community feel, having those events, increasing events, things for the community. Like I mentioned, I'm a board member at the Diamond Point Homeowner Association for the last 12 years, and we have events quarterly over there for all the homeowners, and they come down, and it's a great event. We may not see each other every day, but we become neighbors, and we see them on a quarterly basis. We have taco days, we have a luau, we have different things. Why can't we do that at a city level? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, great question. When I moved here in 1993, that's the first thing I realized is concert at the park. And that's the first thing I saw. It's like, wow, I'm moving to such a friendly city. Yeah, if you look at what I'm running for is really to add more events. Diamond Bar is very diversified, as you guys both know. You know, and then we have 55,000. Not only are we need to celebrate the national holidays, we need to celebrate each other's culture. You know, we are so diverse, but we don't, we need to respect all culture, whether it's Chinese, Indian, Korean, all aspects. Let's get the communities to get together. Let's celebrate the Chinese New Year. Let's celebrate the Indian, the holiday for them. And then we can have an international food festival. You know, right now is the restaurant week. Why can't we have an international fair on a yearly basis and put that on the calendar going forward? If we can get the community together by celebrating, this is incredible. You know, Diamond Bar will be the best city that we're going to be in. And that's what I'm preaching, and I would love to increase a lot more events for the city of Diamond Bar. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
I would absolutely increase Parks and Rec programs, Julian. It's the real problem that we have is we have a park deficit in the city of Diamond Bar. We need more park space. We're doing everything we can with what we've got. We're improving the trails up at Diamond Bar Center. You'll see some improvements that over the next few months. But we need more space. We need. When I was on Parks and Recreation Commission, we had a quarterly meeting with all of the users, and there are a lot more people that want to use our parks than we had park space, and we need to be aware of that. We need to add to our park inventory. We have great programs. We have great programs for kids. We have great programs for seniors. We've got Bark at the Park. We've got now pickleball, the most popular sport today. And again, the funny thing is that was a tennis court, and we've remodeled it into a pickleball court. And now all the people that play tennis are up in arms. But the people that play pickleball want another pickleball court. So it's a balancing act, but I absolutely believe we need more programs, not less.
Thank you, Mr. Vitale. Now I'm going to turn it over to Samantha, who's going to ask the 9th question.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Chou, and I'm a senior from Diamond Bar High School. The city of Diamond Bar is working on developing plans to create a downtown Diamond Bar along both sides of Diamond Bar Boulevard. between Golden Springs Drive and the 60 freeway. It will be a multi-use town center on 45 commercial acres. Do you support the downtown Diamond Bar project? If so, what would you like to see there? And if you don't support this project, why not?
Thank you, Samantha. Dr. Teng?
Diamond Bar downtown project will be creating a lot of residents and creating a commercial center, and will have become a center of the activity there, and people can usually walk in that area without driving too much. That can help to solve the traffic problem, and also the multiple housing units planned to be built there will help city to solve the housing problem. So overall, I think this is a very good idea to help city to build more housing so that we can offer more like reasonable, affordable housing to attract the younger families to come to Diamond Bar, and we can attract more business to Diamond Bar and increasing our revenues, as everybody mentioned, that we need to increase our revenues so that we have a very healthy budget. So overall, I totally support this planning, and I will continue to attend these planning meetings to see what's going on. Thank you.
Mr. Torres?
Well, as I mentioned before, I was in some of these meetings, or I at least came and saw the presentation a few weeks ago. I 100% support this program. I think it's a great program. I think it's a great thing for the city of Diamond Bar. It's a great thing for District 1 and District 2 for the north side of town. Some things I love to see in there. I love to see diverse restaurants. Why are we going to different restaurants in Brea and Chino when we could have great restaurants here in Diamond Bar? We need a movie theater here in Diamond Bar. Why are we going outside the city? We need to create jobs here in Diamond Bar to help the economy, help grow our Diamond Bar economy, keep those tax revenue dollars here in Diamond Bar. So that's some of the things I like to see. I love to see people walking on the streets of Diamond Bar and enjoying, the food, enjoying the different cultures, enjoying a great hamburger or a great pizza, artisan type foods. Things that we see in other cities, things that we have to drive 15 to 30 minutes away in traffic on the 57 or going up to Glendora or going up to Chino. Why can't we stay home and do that? It's been a long time coming. I keep reiterating this, but I've lived in Denver a long time, but I remember a movie theater being over by the H Market. It was fun going there as a child. That's something I want to have my kids experience, going to a movie in Diamond Bar and then going across the street and having, I think it was Burger King or Kentucky Fried Chicken. We don't have that anymore. The kids just go home, and the families just go home. They drive into the town. Yeah, we have a lot of traffic, but the traffic's here from the traffic hours, after work or before work or kids going to school, but there's no traffic here on the weekends because everyone's leaving the city or they're not deciding to drive. But those are the type of things I love to see in there. I love to see, the walkways, the fountains, and maybe an art museum, culture. We got to bring culture to Diamond Bar, and that's the Diamond Bar of the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mallow?
Thank you. As I mentioned before, I was part of GPAC, General Plan Advisory Committee, and we, the 13 member, actually picked that spot. The reason is it's only 2 lights to the freeway. If you look at the center of Diamond Bar, it's not that area, but that is the best place to put downtown Diamond Bar. And if you look at that whole area, it's quite big. And to imagine downtown Diamond Bar, that all the parking spaces you see right now will all be gone. It will be shops, after shops, restaurants, retail, and on top of it, we'll have 2 or 3 levels of housing. And it's about time that we can actually live here, dine here, and play here. It's long coming, but it's really exciting. People have to go to Chino Hill to have a good steak. They have to go to Brea to have something that they like. There's nothing. There's a lot of restaurant here, but not enough restaurant that every culture can enjoy. So would I support downtown? Absolutely, 100%. And by doing that, you know, one of the meetings I was at, discussing with the consultant, the theme is you can actually sit there for 3 hours, have a cup of coffee and not spend a lot of money, just enjoy downtown. And that's what it's all about. So 100% support the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mao. Mr. Tai?
You know, my friend Bob Zervis, God bless him, had a vision to have a Perk Street in Diamond Bar. And I think that's what we have here with downtown Diamond Bar. My vision was to take it from Golden Springs to the 60 freeway, from Diamond Bar Boulevard to Prospectors, and flatten everything. And let's start over. But you've got some. Let's just use what is now the Sprouts Center. Remember that. Everybody remember the eyesore of Kmart? Remember? Honest to goodness, the only time I went there was when one of my kids said, "Oh, Dad, I have a project that's due tomorrow. I think I can get everything I need at Kmart," and I doubled the population of that store when I stepped in. So now it's gone. It was vacant for quite a while, but we've got national retailers that came to Diamond Bar. There are, I believe, 7 owners just in that area. Over 20 probably if you went all the way to Palomino. So we've got to get that under control. But I think if we start over, we have a great opportunity to have a great vision for downtown Diamond. And Ruben, you were saying that you'd like to see a theater. I think that would be a great idea. But after the movie, I'd like to see a brew pub.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that all the candidates love this downtown Diamond Bar concept because we're the ones that designed it and funded it. So thank you for your support on the project. I was thinking about it really as a result of a month-long public process where we engage folks like you to see what would you like to see in Diamond Bar. And we heard many of the same things. We want a theater, we want a place where the community can come together, have a cup of coffee. We want a water fountain, we want a town hall, we want a town center, we want a plaza where people can just enjoy each other's company. And that's exactly what we did. We found a world-class consultant that engaged many of you. We had a whole series of public workshops, and we designed it. It's going to be something spectacular that everybody wants. And because the process is so inclusive, we have input from everybody. We know what you like. We want more diversity in restaurants. We want more family entertainment centers. We lost our Chuck E. Cheese, right? That was my son's favorite place. Love to have another one, something similar, right? We want a movie theater. We want an art theater, a community art center. These are our dream list, things that we can and should have in Diamond Bar. There's no reason why we cannot, with this new envisioned downtown Diamond Bar, that we cannot have all of this. Let's dream big. No, but the key is having the right leadership on the city council that can see this process to fruition. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, this will be 8, 10, 15 years before it's completed. Let's be honest, right? It takes a lot of persistency from our end. It takes a lot of vision. It takes a lot of teamwork. But we're committed to see it done. I'll tell you one more thing real quick. So 30 years ago when Diamond Bar was built, we were built as a neighborhood residential area. Over time, we're completely built out. So our next phase of growth is going to come from local economy. That's why this downtown Diamond Bar will be so important to the future of Diamond Bar, and we're committed to see it happen.
Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Samantha now to ask the 10th question.
Residents are concerned that some neighbors have moved out and are converting their homes to Airbnbs or short-term rentals. The people who rent these homes sometimes create problems such as loud noise, illegal parking, and trash for the neighbors that live there. As a city council member, how will you address this problem?
Thank you. Mr. Torres?
That's a good question. You know, we have short-term rentals like Airbnbs. You have a lot of people coming in and out of the community. That reflects, you know, that I think about that a lot because parties, you know, we're a community. We're looking at safety, public safety. I look at it as a public safety issue, right? What can we do about these rentals? I mean, is there? Once again, the city council, I'm hoping to be able to put some ordinance together and maybe not have so many Airbnbs pop up or rentals, short-term rentals that. Rentals are good for the community, but not short-term rentals. We're not a community that's at the beach or a community at the mountains. We're a neighborhood community. We're a community for families. We're a community here for generations. I don't agree with the short-term rentals. Now, can there be some? Possibly some. But I think if there's a way to put a city ordinance or working with the city lawyers and working with the community on saying, we're only gonna have a certain percentages based off the housing that we're gonna allow, that's it. I believe other cities have done this, and I think we should be able to do it at the same time. Because it is causing too many people living in homes, it's causing too many cars on the streets, and that turns into a public safety issues, where police can't patrol the streets because there's too many cars in the streets. What can we do about that? Those are questions that we would need to pose as a council and sit and collaborate. That's why I think it's very important that we have the right partnerships, the right council put in place, so the decisions could be made and we could look towards the future of Denver. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mao?
Yes, yeah, it is a problem. When I was a board president, that came out in our association, as well as knocking doors. That comment also came out. Diamond actually has a rule against short-term rental, so no house can be rented out for 30 days or less. But some homeowners are smarter and they think they can trick the city and by doing 31 days. I think that how do you solve it? It's very difficult because if they are renting out for 31 days, you just have to continue, you have to, if they are wrecking the neighborhood, have music, just call the sheriff department. If you don't feel safe, you need to report it. That's the bottom line. And I was talking to a homeowner, they said that they rent this house for 24 hours. We're trying to see who can drive 360 the fastest. That's not safe at all. How do we can't accept that. And as a city council, I will definitely double down on all the penalty that comes with it. By finding the homeowner more renting out a 24-hour Airbnb, they will eventually go somewhere else and rent that house. So I will double down on all the fines and get the city together with the city attorney. How do we get the laws to help that to prevent more Airbnb from popping up? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Todd?
Airbnbs are not permitted in Diamond Bar. Short-term rentals are a problem. I think that, the sheriff will always tell you, if you see something, say something. This is our neighborhood. Diamond Bar is our community. It isn't something to be ashamed of to call the sheriff and say, we're having a problem. There's a party there. And I'll tell you what, if you call and your neighborhood is being disturbed, remember, when I grew up, it was called disturbing the peace. I don't know what they call it now, but send the police out, take care of it, bust them. It has to happen again and again and again. And I think if we want to, we can put a process in place where we'll put a lien against the home. So what it really gets down to is getting their attention. This is, again, it's our neighborhood. It shouldn't be dominated by somebody that's taking advantage of the system and ruining the neighborhood for other folks.
Thank you. Mr. Teng?
Thank you. One of the very first things I learned about city council members is that you always listen to the people. It's what does the people want? And we've heard this over and over, loud and clear, that they do not like Airbnbs in their neighborhood. So this is something that's been on the books. We do have city ordinance prohibiting Airbnbs. The problem is obviously it's enforcement. We've had kind of taken a gentle approach in that we'll cite them, we'll warn them, we'll send out code enforcement officer, let them know that, hey, this is not allowed. But coincidentally, we have been working with our city attorney to strengthen our penalties. And this is something that we care about because our residents care a lot about this, and we'll make sure that we now have some teeth to enforcement. Obviously, if they don't comply, we kind of escalate that to a higher level. At some point, we'll get their attention and force them to comply. But my philosophy has always been, what does my people want? What do they tell me what they want? We've heard it loud and clear over and over that they do not want Airbnbs because they denigrate a neighborhood, they destroy a neighborhood character, And a lot of times they're just loud. And we don't like people who rent out a mansion for a party over the weekend, just leave on Sunday night or Monday morning, leave a bunch of trash on the streets. We just don't want that. So as a city council, we are aware of this problem. We have committed resources. We are in the process of hiring an additional code enforcement officer. And I always tell our folks is I said, be careful what you wish for, right? You want more code enforcement, we will make sure that our rules are being enforced. But it also means that we'll have more code enforcement penalties and different things to make sure that everyone plays by the same rules. At the end of the day, our job is making sure that our neighborhoods are safe, and they are a place where families continue to want to come and raise their family. So thank you.
Thank you.
So if people don't want it, if the law does not permit it, then we should enforce the law and order. So that's basically, I agree with other members' thinking and opinion. And other things I can think about that is if it's an Airbnb and some other people book the house from some other apps, then we should probably look into the opportunity to let those apps know that this district, this area is not allowed for Airbnb, so they cannot post any advertisement, the selling for Airbnb in this area. I mean, obviously, we need to discuss with our legal counsel to see the feasibility of this. But this is just one thought popping in my mind that we can probably do this to prevent people renting Airbnb in this area. Thank you.
Now I will turn it to Raphael to ask the 11th question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rafael Mejia, and I'm a senior at Diamond Ranch High School. The city's annual budget for law enforcement and public safety is almost $8 million. As a city council member, what is your focus or priority for law enforcement?
Thank you. Mr. Mal?
Thank you. I think we have repeated that over and over again. It's public safety. $8 million. If we need to, that has to be increased. The public has to feel safe. And in the city of Diamond Bar, or in any city, but we have to feel safe when we go out. We have to feel safe when, to shop and to dine here. So as far as the budget of $8 million, if we need to, we have to increase it to make sure that we are protected and that we are comfortable living in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Todd?
I think the focus on public safety has to be certainly homeowners. Our neighborhoods need to be safe, but I don't think we've talked at all about our businesses. We have to focus on the poor lady on Diamond Bar and Golden Springs, the lady that operates the cleaners that, her windows are smashed, okay? Then a week goes by and somebody puts glue in her lock so she can't get in. It's like, we need to pay attention to that. And again, I think that, as successful as Neighborhood Watch has been, they've got a commercial watch as well, but the focus has got to be on how do we, it's like squeezing a balloon. You gotta make it go, you gotta make it go out the other end and have the problem go away. So we have to focus on our businesses, and I believe it all comes from that our neighborhoods will be safer if the commercial is safer and we have a place to go and shop and be confident.
Thank you. Mr. Chow?
Thank you. So we're proud of the work that we've done in the city council. Can more work to be done? Of course, every city has crime. I'm not saying we're immune to it, but as city council members, it is our job to meet the challenge and make sure our residents feel safe when they're at home, when they're out shopping. So that's something we take very seriously. I do think that we're seeing results. So someone mentioned SafeWise earlier. For the past 4 years I've been on the council, through the work of our city collectively, we've been ranked one of the top safest cities in California for the past 4 years. And we've also consistently increased our public safety budget. As I mentioned, when I was first elected back in 2018, was in the $6 million. Now we're almost at $8 million. Additionally, we've almost doubled our number of neighborhood watches. We do it certainly to make sure that they're more active and they have the equipment and resources and training that they need to do a good job. We also need to continue to increase on our commercial watch, our business watch program. Deputy Scheller, who's assigned to our city, has been instrumental in that effort. And he slowed down a little bit during COVID, but he's out there pounding on pavement, passing out flyers, teaching business owners how to protect themselves. Cameras are not enough, right? You need to reinforce your lock your doors and don't leave money in your safe overnight in your cash register. So these are things that we can do to protect ourselves. But as council members, it is our job. It is our number one job to make sure that the city is safe. And we're committed to anything we can, whatever we need to do to make sure that residents continue to call Dunbar home and continue to stay here and feel safe when they go out and you know, they can continue to enjoy the quality of life that they come to expect and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Teng?
Yes, budget has always been tight, try to increase as much as possible. And also the police, deputies, patrols has always been tight. I have visited their station and they are pretty much tied up with a lot of paperwork, tons and tons of paperwork. And so they really need that kind of a relief. And one of the good program to relieve the deputies to do more patrol work is the VOP program, volunteer on patrol, that the citizen can volunteer to do the patrol. They will get trained by the deputies and by the sheriff department. They will pass a serious examination to be qualified to be on the patrol. And let me give you an example. One police officer told me that if they are calling to deal with a car accident, for example, then they have to stay there until the damaged car is towed away by the tow truck. And if the tow truck come back half an hour, 1 hour late, they have to be literally there because it's their responsibility. And if there's a BOP program, BOP available at that time, the BOP can be called into that area to release the deputies to do the other kind of a patrol, so that they have more time to do the regular patrol. So I think a BOP is a very important and very useful program that can help our deputies to do more works with the existing budget. So I do encourage people to do that. Thank you.
Torres?
So great question. You know, we've all talked about our priorities here tonight. The big thing is public safety, right? Number one thing. I think all the candidates up here will agree with that. You know, $8 million, there's got to be a way for us to increase this budget, you know, without increasing any taxes. If we could increase it, we could get more patrols, more police on the streets. You know, I commend all our law enforcement agencies. You know, I love that I have family members. We all have family members and friends that are officers, public safety servants. But we got to do more as a city that we're looking towards in the future. We have to do more. Is that increasing the budget so we could have more patrols on the streets to protect our citizens, protect our businesses? You know, we've talked about neighborhood watch. Unfortunately, sometimes people just don't show up to those neighborhood watch meetings. I've been to them, 2 people. And it's tough because we're paying a sheriff deputy to be out there to talk to them, and you only have 2 people showing up. So in my personal opinion, I think we need more patrols, more officers on the streets, and really working with them because they're in a tough situation right now when they do arrest somebody. It's not the best thing for them sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it back to Raphael to ask the 12th and last question.
Diamond has a golf course, a number of hiking trails, and Tres Hermanos Ranch. What is your vision or priority about developing or using these spaces?
Thank you, Raphael. Mr. Tai?
I think one of the most important things, one of the precious things that we have available is open space. So guess what we're getting out of the remodel of the golf course? We will have instead of a 60-year-old golf course that not many sprinklers work, we're going to have a state-of-the-art golf course. Tres Hermanos truly was it 4 years ago? I think 4 years and 1 month ago that the idea was that we were going to have a solar farm at Tres Hermanos, and you know what? The city of Diamond Bar took a position to sue the city of Industry, and today we have Tres Hermanos Conservation Authority that's shared by City of Liverpool, Diamond Bar, and by, so we're overseeing that. We're gonna protect that. What that open space will become is something for the future, but thank God it's not a solar farm. Trails, we have great trails, and I think what I like to tell people is we do the very best we can with what we have there. I think we have good programs, we have good parks that we have are really worn out. Like I told you, I was on Parks and Recreation where I first began a commission with the city, and we first put lights up at Peterson Park. And what you find out is it's terrific because you can use it now until 10 o'clock, not just when the sun goes down. And what you find out is you wear the park out. So it's again, one of those things that you have to balance, but we have a lot of good things going in Diamond Bar, and I think we have a lot of good things to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teng.
Thank you. So I believe the question was, what are we planning to do with the golf course, Tres Hermanos, and all trails? Will we develop them? Answer is no, no, and no.
Yes.
I ran on this in 2018, and my position was clear then, and it is clear now. That's where we draw the red line in the sand. No, don't touch Tres Hermanos, don't touch our remaining open space, don't touch our trails. We'll improve them so that it's more enjoyable for the people, but at the end of the day, open space belongs to all of us. There's nothing in it for the city, there's nothing in it for the residents. If a developer comes in and puts in 100 homes, there's nothing in it for us. More traffic, more things to maintain, and just more pollution. There's nothing in it for it. And at the end of the day, I work for the people. I don't work for developers. As a matter of fact, when I won in 2018, the next day I was sworn in, I got a check from somebody that wanted to give me money. It was a realtors group. Now, I have nothing against realtors. Let's get out of the way. I have nothing against them. But I will not take their money. Because if a project comes before the council, I want to vote on it purely based on the merit of the project. Not because they wrote me a check for 500, for 1,000, for 1,200 bucks. I have all of you to support me, right? I don't need their money. I straight up turn down their money because I don't want to be beholden to a developer with special interest or somebody that wants a contract from the city. No. I was clear about this 4 years ago, and 4 years on the council have not corrupted me. As a matter of fact, it has strengthened my belief that council members come and go, but the decisions we make will last generations. So make sure this November you vote carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Teng.
Tres Hermanos and hiking trails definitely belong to the open space, and then we definitely need to preserve them. And what's the definition of open space? The open space is actually that some open space that has not been changed, has not been altered. So by that definition, a golf course may not be qualified as an open space. And for golf course, the situation is a little bit different because golf course is operated by LA County. It's not under Diamond Bar City. So we definitely need to see what the LA County want to do with the that golf course, since it's been closed probably for a couple of years to come because of all the constructions around the area. Then we need to see what they want to do, then decide what to do next. Okay. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Torres.
So at the beginning of my, my opening, one of the things my concerns are with the city of Diamond is obviously open spaces. If I get elected, my stance is to preserve those open spaces, preserving the Tres Hermanos, preserving our trails. But I come from a different approach too when it comes to our parks. We have to redevelop our parks. We gotta, put nature back the way it was to preserve those parks, preserve that open space. I mentioned I was on the board for Dunbar Pony and Dunbar Baseball. We have about 9 acres over there that I think we have a great partnership with the youth baseball in this community to really make that a nice park over there. We tried this back in 2009 working with the city, and unfortunately it didn't go through, but that's something I'm passionate about because of the baseball for the kids. But there's just not baseball. We could put basketball courts, we could put a soccer field, we could put softball down there. Those are 9 acres down there. I think if we have a good partnership with our board, that's where I could bring in that tie to be able to preserve that space as well and build another facility of parks and development down there. Not housing, but parks. Our trails, we need natural trails, and the Trestle Mountains will stay open space. Right. Thank you.
Mr. Mao.
Thank you. Yeah, that golf course is actually, as Councilman Tai mentioned, it's pretty old, and I think that with the freeway expanding, it's actually adding a life to that golf course. It will be state-of-the-art golf course that everyone can enjoy. The city, Diamond Bar City resident, as well as people from the outside. As far as Tres Hermanos, when I first went to Diamond Bar, it was very interesting to see cows. But one line over, you have cows here, but it's really great. That has to stay as open space. And I definitely will support that. As far as parks and trails concerned, Diamond Bar, as small as it is, we actually have a lot of parks and trails that have been developed over the years. And if you look at the agenda for tomorrow night, the trail is actually on the agenda to put more money into the trails. So I 100% support what has been done to the city, and if elected, I will continue to support it, especially the trails from all. That's very important to the residents here, and it's very important when I go knock on doors. Everybody asks me the same question: what's going to happen to that piece of land? Well, it will stay an open space. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before we get to the closing statements, I wanted to just thank the students here today from Diamond Bar and Diamond Ranch High School. Now we will move on to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to say their statement, and we will begin with Mr. Chou.
Thank you. Okay. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We took a lot of time thanking ourselves and thanking the students, but I want to thank our audience. Thank you for being here. I wish you would come to every single council meeting. I wish all of our council meetings had these many people. This is great. As someone who's championing transparency, accountability in city government, this brings tears to my eyes. I really hope that every council meeting that will see this type of participation. I've always said that democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to participate, right? You have to show up. If you have an issue, you have to speak up to be heard. You have to stand up to be seen. So you can't just stay at home and not come to meetings. And this is great. It's honestly been the greatest honor of my life in the past 4 years to serve as a council member. I've met so many of you. I've gotten to know so many of you on a personal level, and and everyone tells me the same story. People want Diamond Bar to be transparent. They want to be able to access their council members.
Thank you, Mr. Chou.
Oh, I'm sorry, I totally see that. Thank you.
Dr. Teng.
I have seen some reports saying that Diamond Bar has been selected by several national magazines and organizations to be top 10, top 50, top 100 best places to live in the United States for families and for all the population in general. That's a great honor and a great distinction. But we cannot take that for granted. We have to work hard to keep that great honor and great distinction. And we can work together to keep that. And I thank you, everybody. I think everybody should consider electing the best candidate to keep doing the job, to keep Diamond Bar the best places to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres.
as leaders of the community, we need to engage, talk, and strategize with the community and other communities to come with a sustainable, long-term ideas for Diamond Bar. We're at a point where our city needs to look into the future for now and for the next generation of Diamond Bar residents. The question is how we're going to accomplish this. We as elected officials need to be a voice for the community. We need to listen and engage in the community with partners and allies to develop a great city. I'm a proud resident of Diamond Bar, love its small community feel, and want to keep it that way. I believe it takes a team effort, working together to keep Diamond Bar strong and a safe place for its residents. If elected, I'll work hard not only for District 1, but for the community as a whole. My commitment is to all. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Mack.
Thank you. I want to thank Walnut Valley Rotary Club for hosting this event. In the last few weeks, I have been knocking hundreds of homes and met great residents. I hear the concern. As an elected city council, I will be your voice. My goals are public safety. We should feel safe when we shop or walk in our neighborhood. Traffic improvement. We can't stop from neighboring city from coming to our city, but we can better sync the traffic lights. Building commitment. To get the whole community together by having more events. Business cultivation, work with the other council member for downtown Diamond Bar, so we can dine, shop, and play right here in Diamond Bar. As a small business owner for the past 26 years, and my passion to help others, I am the candidate who can get things done. Thank you, and please vote for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the forest.
Mr. Top.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Nick. You did a marvelous job as moderator. Ruben, Alexandra, Vishnu, Julianne, Samantha, Raphael. I don't know why you chose to be here instead of at home on a school night, but thank you so much for your help. We really. It requires prudent fiscal management to build healthy reserves, which our city has, something every council has practiced since 1989 and continues to this day. I will continue to manage our resources wisely because everything revolves around that. People are seeking courage and leadership in their elected officials today. I'm Steve Ty, and I would appreciate your vote on November 8th. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
I will now turn it over to Mack for closing remarks.
Ryan, I pulled the stop sign up right now.
First of all, you're already standing, but all Rotarians, please stand. Thank everyone's efforts and have a successful night. Love the attendance and getting the word out. But also, Ryan, will you stand up? Ryan did such a great job with the timing and putting the 30 seconds up all night.
There's only one person ignored.
Appreciate everybody coming out. Thank and Pearl, are they still here?
They're in the back.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. And our table's there. If you want to sign up for Rotary, see what we're all about, we'll be at the Holiday Inn tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.